everyone, and welcome to another episode of my weird little podcast. Woo!
Yay!
It's me, Tia. I'm always here. Although this time, if you're watching this on YouTube, it is a slightly different angle of my room today, because I did not feel like getting off my bed. Um, so, yeah, it's a slightly different angle. I'm also no makeup on and no cute outfit. So if you are following me on TikTok, uh you might be disappointed with this week's TikTok. So sorry. Um to my 6 subscribers out there. I do have as of right now, I have 700 followers on TikTok, so that's not bad. You know.
Woo!
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm so rude. Teresa's here. Yay!
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here as always.
But as soon as I get 1,000, I can start doing live stuff on TikTok, which hopefully I can do. I have a couple ideas for things I want to do. Sorry. Pat is now handing me my soda and my pizza, and now we can continue with the podcast. What are you drinking? Because I'm drinking
Nice.
limoncello LaCroix.
Ooh, I love that LaCroix. Is that the limoncello?
Yeah, limoncello.
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't tried it. Is it good?
it's really good. It tastes like marshmallows. I don't know
Ooh.
how to why it doesn't taste like lemons. It tastes like marshmallow.
Yeah.
Limoncello, LaCroix, key lime, LaCroix, and pamplemousse are like the best flavors, hands
Those
down.
are your favorites?
Um,
Yeah.
the worst flavor is orange, um,
Yeah.
because it just tastes like unsweetened orange soda. Um,
Oh, yeah.
or the plain lemon is also equally disappointing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah.
See, sometimes I just like the plain ones. I like the flavored ones too. Have you tried the raspberry one? That one is good. Like that.
I have not. Ugh.
So yes, to answer your question, I'm drinking tonight another Cutwater. I love the Cutwater so much. Man, I still need to go there in San Diego. It's so close, but I haven't been there. This is the Tiki Mai Tai. Um, this is probably my favorite one actually. So it's one of the stronger ones, and they definitely do it right. So, cheers.
Very cool.
Mhm.
We have several beer breweries out here. I don't know if you're into beer, but
Oh yeah, I love beer. Yes,
um,
definitely.
so out here everyone drinks Montucky, which I don't know
Oh,
if that's a local brewery or not, but it seems that maybe that's just what my friend Ray drinks at karaoke on Mondays. But I've drank
okay.
a lot of it out here because it's super cheap. It's like PBR. Well, it doesn't taste like PBR.
Oh
It's
yeah.
actually way
Okay.
better than PBR. Not to knock
Oh,
on PBR. PBR is fine, but it's always like the cheapest. Um,
yes.
but if you're going like I wouldn't say bougie. If you're going mid-range and local, you're gonna want Atomic Duck. So it's
Oh yeah.
from
Okay.
a brewery called Able Baker. Um, and basically, the duck is the only animal to survive the nuclear testing when they were doing atomic testing here in Las
Wow.
Vegas. And apparently, I guess they were blowing up animals, but the duck survived. And so our local beer is Atomic Duck. It's really good. I love it, but you
My
have to like
God.
IPAs. Not
I
everyone
think,
likes IPAs.
yeah, I'm trying to think like, did I have one? Because I was there that one night when we went out, a few
Atomic
weeks
liquor.
ago. And yeah, and
Yeah.
you to the Atomic, it was called Atomic, right?
Hmm.
The place we went to, the bar, Atomic Bar. Yeah, I remember you had that. And then I don't remember if I think I tried it though. It was good. Well, I do like
I like
IPA.
it.
I didn't know the history behind the duck itself though. That's very interesting
Bad,
and
morbid. Yeah.
sad, but at the same time cool. So yeah, that's awesome. Atomic Duck.
I'll
Okay.
have to do an episode on atomic tourism here in Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I definitely
Oh,
have to cover that at some point.
yeah.
What else do we drink here in Vegas? That's about it. That's all I can think
Uh,
of. I'm trying to think of. Oh, Liquid Death. That's another weird. I don't know. Weird.
liquid stuff, not the sparkling water, right?
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
one? Yeah. No, I
yeah.
love that stuff. Yeah, I
It's
love
like
that stuff.
really popular out here for some reason.
Yeah. It's good
Even
though.
just
I
the
mean,
plain water. It's just canned water.
yeah, it's the
You know.
clever marketing.
Yeah, with like
Right?
brilliant marketing.
Yeah.
But I usually get that all the time when I'm like drinking and I'm like, I want to keep social drinking, but
Yeah.
I don't want to get drunk and I don't want to feel bad. So I usually will like try
Yes.
to force myself to get one of those.
The
Um,
can makes it look hard. So
um, everyone likes cold drinks, even non-alcoholic cold drinks. Everyone likes them.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, of course.
but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um,
Yeah. What else is going on? That's about it. Um, yeah, I'm gonna be hosting a horror movie night at Millennium Fandom here in Las Vegas coming up. So
awesome.
yeah. I don't know. Should I mention that on the podcast? Am I gonna get stalkers? Hopefully not. You know, should I?
Hopefully only cool stalkers. I
Well,
don't know.
right.
Not creepy ones.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
I've stalked people. I stalked my friend Mitchell on TikTok, and now he's my actual friend. So, there's that. you know, Still haven't met him in person though, honestly, but that's
Mhm.
okay. But yeah. All right, that's enough about my personal chit chat in life. I'm gonna finish eating this pizza and what do you got for me today?
Okay. Well, today, I wanted to, something caught my attention and I was like, I don't know if we've talked about this or not. Hopefully we haven't. And if we have, hopefully it's been a long time. But this is taking it back to our nation's capital here in Washington, D.C. Um, and it reminded me of the time that I remember I was talking about some of the ghosts in the White House with regard to some of the seances and stuff that happened, like with Abraham Lincoln and,
Mhm.
stuff like that. But um, this ghost is actually feline ghost. And I don't know
Oh,
I don't know that we've talked specifically about this ghost, or is it a ghost? I don't know. That's up for you to decide. But um, the official name of this ghost or non-ghost is the Demon Cat, or just DC.
the
Um,
demon cat
yeah,
of the White House.
yes,
Wow.
yes, and
That's
not just
that's
the,
really cute actually.
it is honestly. It's not just of the White House either. The White House is actually, um, it kind of moved on to the White House and became a fixture there after being around a different Capitol building.
Hmm.
Actually, more correctly, it was first seen in the US Capitol building first.
Hmm.
Um, so, yeah, it is the most famous and um, ubiquitous uh, feline ghosts of Washington, D.C. And it's one of the best known ghost stories in D.C. This cat has been around since the mid 1800s,
Hmm.
and it is said to be either neutral to some, but it's also said to be naughty to others. And
Sounds like
sometimes,
a cat.
yeah, exactly. Sometimes it just wants to apparently frighten unsuspecting people
Mhm.
if it's seen, but it the thing that is terrifying about it is that it has, according to legend, the ability to change in size from an ordinary house cat to an enormous size, like that of an elephant.
Oh, geez.
Or, yeah. And is the legend of the demon cat based in any real encounters? Or is it just a special breed of a national cryptic cryptid all on its own? So
Hmm.
that is something that I will be talking about briefly here. Um, and I mean, I know what my answer is already. I'm already sold because I'm already a cat person.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I agree with you to think of um, this kind of being so prominent in, the White House and other buildings. Yeah, I think it's really cool. So,
Hmm.
um, I definitely believe that it could be possible that this cat has existed or still exists.
Hmm.
But let's get into some of the background about it. Um, it made its first recorded appearance at the United States Capitol in 1862. And the US Capitol was the first building that it claimed as its home, basically, because it was said to frequent the basement. And at that time, the US Capitol's basement was used as a bakery during the Civil War to feed soldiers. So it was kind of, like a surplus deal coming out of the basement. And It said that the demon cat appeared here many times. Um, the space was originally intended actually as none other than George Washington's burial chamber in the basement where the bakery area was. So that's pretty interesting. Um, and there was one instance where a guard was said to fire a gun at the demon cat and it disappeared
Hmm.
apparently when the gun was fired at it, rather. The Capitol Hill Guard was supposedly said to be dead of a heart attack after seeing it. That was a different account that happened.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Uh, it's sometimes described as a tabby cat, which, if know and love cats, tabby is one of the most common um, breeds. But sometimes it's also described as being a black cat. So it's described as being both kinds of cats,
Hmm.
actually. So a little confusing, but either way, still a cat at the end of the day is the important part.
Yeah.
Um, so there was going to be an article coming out in the Washington Post in 1898, and it said at that time that, quote, the demon cat appears as a regular sized house cat initially, but then quickly expands to the size of an elephant before the eyes of a terrified observer. That was one description. Another description said the cat swells to the size of a giant tiger or an elephant, said to be 10 feet by 10 feet when alerted. The cat would then, and this is a crazy part. So if it was said by the night guards that were the ones that were mostly giving these accounts of the stories, it was said that if the cat approached you, it would try to attack you or pounce on you. But when it got close enough, it either did one of two things. It either disappeared or it exploded.
Jeez.
Now, what would
Yeah.
that look like, I
Yeah.
wonder? I've never heard of, especially a ghost or a spirit
Yeah.
apparition. I have never heard of one exploding in front of your eyes,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I guess, anything is possible, especially if it's a spirit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that just sounds horrifying. I
Yeah.
mean, what would you see, and would it disappear after you saw it momentarily, or I don't know. Um,
So Pat and I have a story of
oh yeah.
of like seeing a ghost cat at one point
Oh,
in our
wow.
life. This was at our old apartment. We were in the one in North Hollywood where we rehearsed House of Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So I was like in the back room and I went to go pet what I thought was PJ, our cat, which is a dark gray cat. And when I went to pet her, because all the lights were off, so I could hardly see. So I went to pet her and my hand went through whatever it was, and it was like black smoke that went through it.
Are you
And
serious?
like at the time I was like, oh, that's weird. And I was like, I truly thought, pardon me, I truly thought it was like, my eyes were playing tricks on me. Like it was probably just some sort of like smoke coming from in my window from something outside, or something like that, pareidolia
Wow.
type of thing. But then like a day or so later, Pat told me, hey, like there's something weird happened the other night. And he was like, I went to go pet PJ and my hand went through it and it was like gray smoke, you know? And I was like, that is so weird. The same thing happened to me the other day. So I
Oh
don't
my
know. I
God.
mean, it could be something, could be nothing, could be we smoked a lot of weed at the time. Um, it could be pareidolia, like it could be our brains are so used to seeing a cat that when we saw some sort of shape, like our brains assumed it was a cat, you know.
Right.
But weird nonetheless. But
No, that you got, yeah, you guys both experienced it. That's
yeah.
pretty crazy. Wow. Okay. I have never had an experience like that, so I believe you guys, obviously.
Like I've
Yeah,
never really seen a ghost or anything before. I
yeah.
guess that would be my only time experiencing that. When I worked at the museum I cannot mention here in Las Vegas
Yeah.
of paranormal uh theming. Um uh like there were a few times where I would see something out of the corner of my eye here and there.
Hmm.
Um but nothing significant, unfortunately. And I've always
Yeah.
felt like I wasn't like attracted to that stuff, nor do I want to be. Um,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, that was definitely a weird thing for both of us to have happen, you
Yeah.
know, in the same house. But anyways, I digress.
No, that's very, I'm glad you shared that, because
Mm.
I don't know if you ever mentioned that, but that is definitely, that gives me creepiness in a good way. Wow, that's crazy. Um, let's see. So yes, I was talking about the description of the demon cat. And there was another article from the Washington Post. This one was later on, though. This was from 1935. And there was an observer that described DC, demon cat, the eyes of it as saying that they, quote, glow with all the hue and ferocity of the headlights of a fire engine. So,
Oh,
again, common theme we see with these kinds of creatures, monsters, cryptids, what have you, they've always got the glowing red eyes. That's
Yeah.
like a key feature.
Yeah. And I mean,
Um,
cat's eyes kind of glow when like the when light hits it at nighttime,
mhm.
but it's not ever red, you
Yeah,
know.
no, not red usually. And also, I think regardless of whether or not people saw a different color reflected in the eyes, there
Mm.
was one thing that they agreed on, which I read about, was that by this point in time, by 1935, if somebody, a night watchman usually was seeing the demon cat, that it was said the eyes were said to be huge, like headlights. So that's pretty creepy too. You know, uh, so just something to think about in the description of the demon cat. Um, but like most cats, the demon cat definitely loved to roam around, because, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't just haunt the U.S. Capitol building, but it also haunts the White House,
Mm.
and has been said to roam around some other buildings nearby. But those are the two most famous, most prominent buildings that it's said to have um, been around. But when the demon cat appears at the White House, it is said to be a big deal. Um, the If the demon cat appears on the ground floor of the White House, which used to be considered the basement of the White House, and its spirit is, if it's seen, its spirit is said to foreshadow a terrible event.
Mm.
So, just for a couple of examples, in 1929, a White House guard sees the demon cat just before the stock market crash of 1929. In 1963, a different White House guard sees the demon cat right before the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty spooky, pretty eerie. I've even read some other accounts that said that it also appeared before the assassination of President Lincoln.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
that one I didn't include just because I wasn't sure. I mean, with all of these stories, you can't really be too sure, as we know. But um, the reason I didn't include it, but still brought it up, is because um, the first source of information that I pulled these details from was the White House Historical Association website. And on that one, they didn't mention anything about President Lincoln. So I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm not sure if it happened. But like I said, other accounts, other websites said that DC was seen before Lincoln's assassination as well.
That's
So
crazy that Demon Cat is mentioned at all on the historical website. You know?
exactly. And I'm glad you
Um,
brought that up because I was thinking the exact same thing myself. Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's on there. And it just goes to show that, as a nation, for all its kind of like, for our puritanical beginnings and whatnot, uh, it's still, we know these legends and we keep them alive. And yeah, the fact that it's on their website as like a semi-historical thing, yeah, I mean that's you know pretty cool. So you know
Oh,
uh depending on how skeptical people want to be, um you know you can go there and make an argument maybe for some things. So um but yeah, so it's, you know, I'm not sure if the demon cat is, um, malevolent in any way,
mm,
but it's definitely some kind of, maybe a doom predictor, if it's coming around when these events are happening. Of
Yeah.
course, we don't have any first hand eyewitness account of anything, of course, but you know, this is just what was said to have occurred. So I do have, some historical background and maybe a more of a context for the demon cat. Um, like I said, the basement of the US Capitol building during the Civil War was used as a bakery. And of course, the bakery would have grain, wheat, all the things that would attract rodents to that area. And naturally, a allowing cats to roam freely around the halls in the basement area and other areas would prove as effective rodent control and free, obviously, because
Yeah.
they're just, it's not like they're really adopting the cats. I mean, I'm sure they're feeding them, providing them water, whatever, but um, they weren't, well, I mean, the feeding is they're eating the mice, but
Yeah. Yeah.
what am I thinking about? It's not like they opened I just opened my bag of food like you probably do and put it in a bowl, but they were letting them hunt for all these mice and other kind of rodents and vermin. Um, so yeah, that was a very common thing. And there was even an article in one of the papers calling the cats something like the cats of Uncle Sam or Uncle Sam's cats, because they were employed but not actually employed by, the Capitol building and the White House to keep the numbers of rats down. So that being said, some believe that DC is the spirit of one of these mid 1800 cats that once died but never left the basement. And we all know how, if you've had a basement before, I know they don't have them out here really in California, but back where I'm from in the Midwest, there's definitely basements. And yeah, the cat that was at my parents' house most recently, it loved the basement. So yeah, I could see how a cat would never want to leave the basement. Um, but yeah, that's a possibility of why maybe DC is still around. But some people see DC's movement from the Capitol building to the White House as maybe giving a little more credibility to its legend or its possible existence. Because obviously, we all know here in the United States, White House, main building where, everybody's going to be interested or excited to know about what's going on at the White House. So, and if you know anything about, or you've listened to, some of our other podcasts in the past where we've talked about hauntings around the White House or Washington, D.C., then you already know that the White House was already filled with ghosts. And so if a demon cat was added to it, that would probably seem like, kind of an obvious addition, right? They've got all of their kinds of ghosts. So
You need a
why not
pet.
have demon cat?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just adding to another ghost. It's just not a human ghost, which makes it even cooler. So um, it's also possible that uh, Demon Cat and its legend was influenced by, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but Taigi, or the cat was also known as Tiger, Tige. I'm just going to say it's Taigi. I don't want to say Tige. That doesn't sound right. I think
Yeah.
it's probably Taigi. So it was this cat was once owned by President Calvin Coolidge and First Lady Grace Coolidge. And Taigi loved to wander around the different federal buildings though his home was the White House. So, like many cats known to roam outside, he'd sometimes disappear for days at a time. Even that's why, by the way, I don't let my cat go outside because I'm deathly afraid of that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want the cat going anywhere. So, but yeah, he'd sometimes disappear. And when he would disappear, he would actually make the national news for vanishing. Like they would write about it in the papers. I mean, that was back in the day, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, we do write about some pretty, maybe what people wouldn't think is that important nowadays. I mean, yeah, I see far too, it's mostly in the celebrity news that I read. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, why did that happen? And why did I need to know about it?
Yeah.
But, but yeah, Tiggy was famous because, reporters were actually um, recording, accounts of his, vanishing. So it's thought that his wanderlust, that Tiggy's wanderlust, is thought to give believers the idea that DC, the demon cat, also liked to wander and appear in different locations. So I thought that was interesting too. Um, how that might have evolved the story a little bit more for a demon cat and why it would appear in more than one location. Um, but if you really want to be convinced, which I already was, at the moment when, I first saw the details of the story, but if you want to be really convinced, I think that there's nothing more convincing sometimes than some kind of physical evidence, right?
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
there are paw prints and even a DC signature in the Capitol building. And to this day, apparently, you can see it um, in the Capitol building in the small Senate Rotunda, which is just north of the famous main rotunda. And it is, if you go into the old Supreme Court chamber, if you're taking a tour, it would be just outside one of the doors to the old Supreme Court chamber, and you can see a pair of feline paw prints embedded in the concrete by the base of one of the room's 8 columns. And, you can just Google this image. I saw it on the Atlas Obscura website pretty clearly. They have it. Uh, and not so far from the paw prints are the initials DC, and they're carved also into the cement. And, it would be really cool if the DC signature was right by the paw prints, but I learned that it was actually in a different room entirely. But, I mean, you got to imagine that it's hopefully those rooms aren't far off from each other. But just the fact that it's carved into there, who carved it in there?
Yeah.
And when did they do that? And especially the paw prints. I mean, of course you can explain a lot of things away. And I'll get to that in a minute. But, for people who like me, like others who are interested in this kind of thing, yeah, I definitely would love to see the paw prints and the DC up close and get a good look. Um, but the explanation that was given for the paw prints being there in 1898, there was in that area of that small Senate rotunda, there was an explosion from a gas leak that caused much of the original stone floor to be replaced. And at some point during the reconstruction, a wandering cat, possibly DC, left its marks in the drying concrete. Is the demon cat real?
Dun dun
Hmm.
dun.
Hmm. Well, you know what my answer is. But there is someone who considers himself to be a self-proclaimed authority on the legend of the demon cat, and that would be a man named Steve Livengood. And he is the chief tour guide of the U.S. Capitol Historical Society.
Hmm.
So he gives, tours at the Capitol. He, I think, has been um, with the society since the early 70s. So he knows the story pretty well. Um, and unfortunately, Steve doesn't happen to think so. That the
No.
that is real. Yeah. He's, encouraging, which I'll get to in a minute, but no, he does not seem to think that the demon cat is real. Um, he says, quote, I can put enough pieces together to know where the legend came from. The night watchmen were not professionals. They would often be some senator's ne'er-do-well brother-in-law that had a drinking problem.
Hmm.
So, he has a lot of, as many skeptics do, and it's not bad to be a skeptic, of course.
Mhm.
But he definitely likes to explain away a lot of things. But his theory is that the guards, as he was describing, they were, cronies essentially, I guess, or, what would you say, nepotism, right?
Mhm.
They're getting these jobs from their, higher up government officials or whomever. And so they weren't really taking it seriously, in other words. But he was saying that the guards, if they weren't already drunk by the time they got to their post, that they would be drunk shortly after, and that they would get fall down drunk, and that maybe perhaps one of the many cats uh, roaming through the hallways would come and lick the guard's face. And of course, if he was lying down on the ground, might cause him to think that it was the cat was monster sized and not regular sized, I guess, in some kind of drunken stupor. I don't know. It seems like a bit of a stretch to me, but I could
Yeah,
see.
but that's also how rumors kind of go, is that, you
True.
know, one small thing leads to a telephone effect, and
True.
it goes on,
Definitely.
you know.
Yeah,
Who knows? Yeah.
exactly. No, that's very true. So and then when after this happened and they claimed to see, you know, this humongous cat um, coming at them, they would report their tale to a superior, and maybe the superior would think about it with logic for a moment and say, well, this guard was obviously having way too much to drink. Um, and at that point, they couldn't discipline the guard for drinking too much because the guard was so well connected, had these high powered connections. So they would just send the guard home to recover. And then he said, quote, then the other guards realized that if they also see the cat and get attacked, then they get a day off. And that's how history gets written.
Yeah. Hmm.
is what he said.
Hmm.
And he maintains that. Um, and I mean, he's definitely not wrong. I'm sure that has happened more than once. Um, the sad part about things for those of us out there that, want to keep believing is that Living Good says he's never heard of a modern sighting of DC.
Mm.
just these older tales. And he also is quoted as saying, quote, "I've never had anyone who felt they had an experience like that." But, at the same time, just because he hasn't heard of it, I know he's the expert, but doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Although the last official sighting of DC was during the final days or the aftermath of World War II in the 1940s. So
Yeah.
it's 2023 now.
But you
So,
did say that they thought they saw him before Kennedy was assassinated. So
oh,
that was
that's
in the
true.
60s. Yeah.
That's true. Well, I don't know. That's conflicting information I have, of course. That's how
Yeah.
most of these things go.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Oh, I know.
You're,
I know. Yeah.
you're right. I didn't even think about that. Gosh, I always try to fact check my facts that are maybe not checkable, but
You know,
um
cryptid facts are they facts? You
yeah.
know.
Well, real or not, the demon cat lives on in the spooky history of our nation's capital, and I definitely hope to get a glimpse someday of the paw prints and the DC engraving, because I feel like that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, there's a lot of lore that goes around, of course, with the demon cat, but a lot of also kind of pop culture things it's inspired. Just kind of one last fun fact about Demon Cat. Apparently, in 2006, there was, and there still is, a roller derby team in Washington, D.C. called the DC Demon Cats.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's very cool that the Demon Cat has actually made its way into, um, you know, everyday life and at least in
Yeah.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Demon Cat
So,
is a really good mascot name.
yeah, I think
Definitely.
so. I think especially for like roller derby,
Oh yeah.
I wanted to be a roller derby gal so bad, but then, I decided that after I broke an actual bone not doing anything, that I didn't want to try to break one on purpose.
Mm.
So that kind of, you know, led to me not doing that. But yeah, I think it's really cool that their name is the Demon Cats. That
Oh yeah.
sounds awesome for a roller derby team. So yeah, that is the legend of DC, Washington's famous demon cat, and um, is he or she, because it doesn't really refer to whether it's he or she, but is the cat still out there? I think so, but
Mm. Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. We'll see if some sort of tragic event happens. I mean, there has been a few
that,
recently, you know.
that's true.
But
Yes,
would
and
someone admit to seeing it if they did see it? So
they
that's
would need
the
to
thing.
they would need to admit to it. I would actually, it would be so cool if, to get out there one day and try to find out if there have been any more recent sightings. Because, like
Yeah.
you said, just because they haven't been mentioned doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I still hold out hope
Mhm.
that with the paw prints, I don't know. I just think it would be really cool to look at up close. Um,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know, so and try to figure out how the heck the DC got in there. I mean, maybe at that point it was just somebody carving it into the cement, but who knows,
I
you
mean,
know?
does it stand for Demon Cat or does it stand for District of Columbia?
Right.
right?
Could be either one.
Either one. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right. Well, thank you
of
for bringing
course.
that subject. You know, I love cats, so I've got two of my own demon cats.
Right.
Oh, anything with cats. Now I feel like I need to
Yes.
do more cat episodes. You know, and I'm gonna have to look into it.
Yes.
Definitely.
Well, I'm glad
Uh,
we hadn't talked about it yet because yeah, I was like, I don't think this is something we've talked about. So yeah,
yeah.
it's cool.
I had heard of the ghost cat of the White House, but not in that
Mhm.
much detail. So yeah,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yay.
So yeah, to my listeners, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And please, please tell other people about this podcast. Like I always say, share it with someone just as creepy as you are. Uh,
Mm.
we're all out there and we collect in groups. Um,
Yes.
so you can watch this on YouTube. These are put up on YouTube. You can email us at myweirdlittlepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram. You can find me at Tia is the coolest or my weird little podcast Instagram. My TikTok is at my weird little podcast, where you see me put on cute outfits. Although today I was just not feeling it. It's fine. It's a mess. Face is a mess. It's all good. We all have those days, and I am totally comfortable in my own skin. So that's fine for now until I shed the skin and embody someone else's skin.
Oh, Skinwalker.
Yeah, like the good skinwalker I am, invasion of the pod people, you know, body snatchers, invasion of the body snatchers. That's where I'm going here. Yeah. And, as always, my creepy friends, please stay spooky.
Yay.